the CFR levels with the specific item types. So we say, yeah, this kind of passages, this kind of questions and items and passages are, related to specific CFR levels. So that's what we do. So what people do is they went over the different like anchor passages and items, and they try to do mapping. And then the next stage we call standardization or benchmarking. This is where you set the cut point, right? This is where you set the cut point. So your understanding of CFL levels and then the characteristics of items and passages, we set the cut points. So this is a teamwork, not only a single person set the cut points. Usually we should have at least more than 10 panelists who are familiar with the CFL levels and then characteristics of the items and passages and prompts and input altogether. And then we divide those 10 people, minimum 10 people, into different groups, like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 groups. So each group come up with their own cut points, right? And then each group might have a different variation of the cut point. And then they do another discussions, and then they finally reach consensus on the final cut points, which is divide C2, C1, or B2 and B1. Usually people, the companies and schools stop at that stage, benchmarking. But that's not the end of it. You have to validate your cut points that you came up with to divide students into different CFL levels. So you have to go through validation. There are two different ways to validate your cut points. The one is called the internal validation. So you see that how much each rater agree with each other when they have to set the cut points. And you will notice that they usually have to go through at least 3 rounding. So round 1, right? They look over the items and each individual set the cut points, right? And then they receive usually another information like item difficulty or item discrimination, right? So they receive more information from the test developer or the person who is kind of leading that standardizations. And then they revise their cut points, right? That's round 2. And then you compare each panelist the cut score. If still some variations, they get together again, they do round 3, right? And then they're done with the round 3 cut point setup. And then each group leader get together and then they discuss their group's cut point. If they're different, they also, discuss about it and then come to consensus on the final cut point. So that's what they do it. Then to provide the evidence for internal validations, the researcher, or in this case, tester, or, who's in charge of the standard setting, had to track down how the agreement rate has changed across different roundings, right? And then you have to show that their agreement is like getting better and better. So that's one evidence of internal validations. And then another validation called external validations. So see that whether the cut score can be comparable from other standard setting methods. So if you do yes, no cutoff, yes, no angle method, what if you do bookmark method? What if do borderline method? Do you receive like comparable cut score? If the cut score is pretty similar to each other, that's the evidence of external validation. So setting the cut score should go through these 4 different stages. It's quite, resource intensive and time consuming process. So if you've done all these 4 stages, you could report and publish your cut scores. Okay, then, so this is like a stage 1. So I'll go through that what CFR is exactly about. So it stands for Common European Framework Reference. CFR is started 2009 by Council of Europe. So this is the comprehensive description of what language learners should learn to do in order to use the language for communication, what learner skill they should develop to build effectively. So that's like dictionary definition of what CFR is. It's kind of also description of the cultural context in which the language is set. And they defined levels of language proficiency in three major levels: A, B, C. A is the novice, B intermediate, C is not the dense. But CFR, they use the different terms. Like A is basic user, B is independent user, C is a proficient user. So as this label implies, if you're B1 or B2, you are independent language user. What that means, like you could produce language at least at the sentence level, right? Without any like some external help. But that's quite important for B1 or B2. And then when you become a C level, we label you are as a proficient user. So what that means is like you are independent language user, and then you don't need some kind of a extra additional help, right? So you don't need to look at the dictionary to find the what words you don't know, or you don't have to like look for other resources to understand some certain texts better and easier. And you may have to reread text a couple of times, but you are proficient. You don't need some external support, which is not the case at B1 and in B1 and B2 level. And then each major level has two sublevels, A1, A2, B1 and B2, and C1 and C2, right? So these are sublevels for each major level. Okay. So, I mean, yeah. And then people think that, hey, come on. So even B2, B1, there are a lot of even variations. Not all B1 the same, right? Some B1s better than other B1s, right? So to make such distinctions, they come up with the plus, let's say B1 plus, B2 plus, right? And then I believe that they will come with the double plus sooner or later. You are B double 2 plus or something like that. So, or triple doubles, either triple plus. Because see that language proficiency is like, it's not this kind of categorical variable, right? When we talked about in our first my session, right, in language assessment, fundamental issues in language assessments. Language proficiency is like underlying some kind of latent variable. It's like similar to other psychological traits, like your shyness, right? You could say, hey, you are novice shyness, you're very strong shyness, but the spectrum is quite large. You cannot kind of categorize the people into certain levels, right? Same for language proficiency. You can say you are B2, but when you look at the lot of B2, there are large variations, right? So that's inevitable because language proficiency can be only captured by some interval scale, like a continuous variable, right? But you're kind of trying to convert those continuous variable into categorical variables. But why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why do you think that we're trying to convert continuous variable into categorical variables? I think that's kind of like the human instinct, right? Our human instinct has some kind of a instinct for categorizations. We want to categorize people like you're in person, you're out person, right? In any, in any society, in any setting, it's like, hey, you belong to us or you're not belong to us. That's, I think, first categorization we started, right? And then to make some decisions, we need to do some categorization too, right? So, I mean, think about, yeah, our weights and heights, it also continuous variable, right? But then to make decisions, we make some categorizations, right? You like, oh, you are taller than 100 centimeter, 175 centimeter. Then you cannot be a pilot. You're too tall to be pilot, right? So pass fail. We make some decisions out of those categorizations. Yeah, so that's why we are doing this. We have a test scores which are continuous variable, but to make some decisions, we kind of convert those continuous variable into this some kind of arbitrary categorizations. And then when you do that, obviously there are large variation within each categorizations. So that's why we have to do some um, more subtle classifications for each major level too. And yeah, now it's time for think about these questions. So the first question is easy, is yes or no. Should we align your scores with classroom based or look? Hang on. What's going on in the screen now? Someone is like scribbling on the screen. It's kind of, is it our Zoom is hacked? Yeah, in the first place, I did by accident, but it's not. Yeah, that's why you have to be careful whenever you use this kind of technology, right? You never know what's going to happen. Have you seen what thing happen to your classroom too? Zoom's like, I'm glad that they don't say anything bad things about me, just like arbitrary lines, thankfully. I think someone is like doing something because I saw the names. I think we have to close down. I know, not the whole Zoom. Yeah, go to Zoom. Yeah. Or you could find who are doing this. Hey, stop. We're going to find out who you are. Oh, yeah, there you go. AI companion? I think we're fine now. I think we have to maybe disable the drawing line functions, whatever. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Whatever. Okay, so yeah, our life is like that, right? I remember that my favorite line from the movie, what is it? Uh, what is it? No, 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 no. No, no, not the parasite. No, 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 no. Oh my God. Anyway, I cannot remember the name of the movie, but it said in the line, life is full of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. Forrest Gump, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. I couldn't even know you remember the Forrest Gump. Yeah. But you remember the line too? Yeah. It's like this. Life is like full of chocolate or full of lines. You never know which line you're gonna get drawn. Okay, so yeah, so this is yes or no questions. Should we align your scores to classroom based or local in-house during the test scores? So this is yes or no questions. You could say yes or no. But then we have a following questions. You can avoid it. If you say yes, you have to say why you say yes. Why not? If no, you have to say why it's not. And the next question is, so it looks like, I mean, we have to do it, right? That's why we are here. What do you think about pros and cons, aligning CFR levels with language test scores? And then the next question is like simple questions. Have you ever participated in setting sessions before? Yes or no? Okay. So let's think about like 5 minutes to think about your own answer. And then we'll get into group of 3 or 4 in in-person session, and I'll create the breakout rooms for all Zoom participants. Okay. Then you will talk about these questions together as a group. Yeah, I think people might kind of sign out. Okay, so now is 1:50, and then at 1:55, and we'll start group discussions about these important questions. Oh, you want to start discussion right away? Or you needed some time to reflection maybe? Yes, I think so, right? So yeah, take your time, about 5 minutes, and then think about, you could even, take notes to organize your thoughts. And then we'll start group discussion. I'll open the breakout room at 1:55. It is yes, no questions, but then you have follow questions too. Okay, looks like people are ready to talk about their thoughts. So I'm just going to open the breakout rooms right now. So the question 3 is about, have you ever been involved in the setting the cut scores for a CFR level? Yeah, like training sessions. Okay, I will close the breakout rooms in about 2 minutes. So please conclude your discussion. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's talk about these questions all together. So should we align your scores to classroom-based tests or local in-house language test scores? Is there anyone say no? No. Anyone? Any group? It okay. Okay, so we have it depends. Many of them probably say it depends. That's interesting response. So then let's talk about when is okay, when is not okay then. Okay, so let's start with the group, Strata group. Yeah, we have a microphone, it's here.
So our primary answer would be it depends on the objective of the classroom, because some objective doesn't assess the student like the performance based on the CEFR descriptor. So in that case, it may not be applicable to align the score with the classroom.
Okay. Any other opinions about that to kind of give piggyback on what he said? I think the group behind, it depends. So depends on what? Depends on what?
From my groups, we think yes and no. It depends on the context, like Chiket mentions. But for my context, if if we need to test or evaluate students, it depends on what we have taught them. It depends on the learning outcome. We need to bet on the learning outcomes. So if our school did not teach anything that rely on the CEFR framework, for example, so we just take them like the just ask them to perform the presentations or skill-based learning. So it for sure that CFR we think that CAFR framework can evaluate them, but not all of of, of that frameworks. Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of a what your course outcomes, your learning outcomes, objectives is look like, right? Okay, and then the Parivat group, could you pass that microphone to him? Yeah, what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, we agree with the other groups, and we just discuss what about the types of tests? For example, if it serves as the proficiency test, I mean, the construct should be the same. But if we align the test with a different construct, that would lead to what we call uh, validity irrelevance. Is it what it's called? Yeah. You want to add something, Jamina? I think you have something to say.
What I'm thinking is that we're not teaching all the 4 skills every time. But then when CEFR, it's basically they have all the skills in the band, if I'm correct. Yeah, again, the type of the test and also the course, whether it is basically focusing on oral communication or written, receptive or productive skills. Yeah. So probably the national test would be okay to align the scores with the framework. But for the classroom, probably yes and no.
You want to add something?
So to me, I would take a really far extreme sort of stance though. I would agree that we need to align our in-house tests with whatever benchmark or the yardstick that you're holding on to, right? This is because if you look at the can-do statement, underneath each individual's categories from the CFR, for example, the B2, and they will holistically tell us that what the students can do with the language and also with the content in their discipline as well, I think at least we should align our in-house tests that we produce at the local levels here to align with the, the standardized, justification, if you like.
Okay, you could pass the microphone down to, all the way down to here. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add from other groups about this question? No? Okay, then I will allow that the June participants can voice their thoughts about this. So feel free to unmute, and then you could share what you guys talked about. I'm not sure if we can do that, but we'll see. Yeah, you guys can unmute and then voice your thoughts on these questions if you want, if you can.
Okay, hello, can you hear me? My name is Duang Kamon. Oh, maybe.
We could hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought you didn't hear me. I'd like to add an aspect of rater because normally in classroom we have just one teacher, right? And the result will depend on the only one teacher's consideration. So if you want to align the result with the CFR, maybe more validation on inter-rater reliability can be added. Yeah, that's my point.
Thank you, Tuan Kaman. Oh, we have another Sia Au, please. You could unmute and share your.
Yes, for me, I feel like it's a good idea to align CEFR in the classroom because it kind of gives the goals to the student. Because since they are the statements, we can do statements. They can know what are the points that they need to work on, and they can kind of like reflect on their skills and the language ability. And for the teacher as well, we can encourage the areas that they need to work more on. And it, for me, I feel like it's giving more the learners to be more independent, and we are giving more autonomy to them. Yes, that's what I feel like it.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Any other thoughts from the Zoom audience? Yeah, I think we kind of all agree that if your courses are constructed based on CFR, and then your course objectives to reach a certain level of CFR, aligning your score with the classroom-based assessment would be beneficial, right? And also, I mean, as someone mentioned that CFR is stated as can-do statements. So students can use for their self-assessment as well. So they could see whether they could do specific language task or not, which will give you also very useful diagnostic informations. So I think it has its own value. And then also definitely is some benefit to align scores to local in-house language assessment scores. Especially that will increase the transparency of your test scores. Yeah. And if your language course is like semester long or intensive courses, usually the target goal is to increase global language proficiency, like from A2 to B1, B1 to B2, right? So if your language course is like more than a semester long, I think we often define our course objectives using the CFR level. So if that's the case, I think we definitely need to align our scores with the CFR levels. And then I think that's kind of related to pros and cons aligning levels with language test scores. What are the the benefits of aligning CFR levels with the test scores? And then some disadvantage or something that we have to be careful about. Yeah. Let's start with from this group. Where is the microphone? Who has the microphone? Why are you passing? Might I? Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For number two, what are the pros and cons? Let me start with the pro. So if we align it with CFR, at least we have something to stick to it. Because like the CFR level is quite standard, quite construct. So when we align it with CFR, at least we can actually see our stand compared to the whole population or something like that. But the con is that the range of the CFR may be quite broad. So if we want, especially in the classroom, if we want to see the improvement of the student within one class, CEFR may not be suitable because at the beginning, the student may be at B1. And then at the end, they are still at B1, but there might be some improvement along the way. Yes.
Sorry, can I just add that there's generalizability and validity issues. Also B1 to B1 plus, the differences might be quite marginal. So it depends on the purpose and the objectives in doing so.
That's really good point too. So for those participating in our session via Zoom might not have heard what our in-person participant just said. So what they said about the pros of aligning CFR levels that is definitely increase the, the relationship between the course content and then the test content and increase transparency. And then your course objective activities can be compared with the other, sessions or schools. But then the cons is the CFR level itself is quite broad. So it's a little bit it's quite difficult to actually track down their progress over time because improvement from especially B1 to B2, B2 to C1, it takes a really lot of time. So students might make a progress improvement, but that improvement may not be captured by the CFR level descriptors, right? Okay, so then let's move on to the next topic. It's about better understanding of CFR level descriptors. So I think we can all agree that, it has a lot of advantages using CFR levels, right? Although we have to be some concern about some disadvantages and cons. But if you have to interpret or implement the CFR level descriptors into your either classroom-based assessment or your in-house local test development, you should have a really good understanding of what CFR level is. So let's go over this. Okay, so this is for reading, range from C1 to B2. So what C1 level can do, let's figure it out. I can understand in detail a wide range of lengthy, complex text likely to be counter social, professional, or academic life, though I may want time to reread them. Okay. As you can see, all these level descriptors is pretty much about what task can be done in what conditions and how well. That's all this CFR levels is about. What task, what topics they can read and produce, and what condition, whether it's a social condition, professional, academic, or personal life. And then how well, about your accuracy and fluency, right? So at C1 level, so reading is about what text they can understand, right? So these are the texts they can understand. Lengthy, like more than 300, 400, 500 words, right? And includes very complicated sentences, like a lot of embedded clauses and, relative clauses. And then topic is like very wide, social topic, professional topic, academic life. But what makes C1 different from C2 is that they needed some more time to reread them. So it's possible that they cannot understand some complex topics from one reading, then they have to read again. If that you have to do, you are C1. If you don't have to reread again, C2, right? That's difference between C1 and C2. And then they have a different level descriptor for different reading topics and genres. If you read for information, and then if you read argumentatory readings, you can understand complex texts where stated opinions and implied points of view are discussed. So this has a more description about what C1 level reader can understand. Complex text. What kind of complex text? Opinions, and then imply, not the directly mentioned, but imply point of view are discussed. So this means that you could understand argumentatory text where opinion is not always directly stated, but you can understand implied meanings, right? If you can do that, you are C1, not B2. Okay, now move on to B2 plus. So B2 plus, make sure that this is still B2, okay, not C1. You are B2 plus if you have a broad, active reading vocabulary, which means I can read with a large degree of independence, adapting style, and speed of reading to different texts and purposes. So here, I said B1, B level is an independent language user, right? So you have active reading vocabulary. So you don't really constantly going back to dictionary to check the meaning of the vocabulary. You don't do that if you're B2 or B2 plus. And then you could, understand a lot of type of different text. And then when you look at the read information argumentatory column, I can understand in detail text within my field of interest or specialty. I can understand specialized articles outside my own field if I can occasionally check with the dictionary. So here, what type of text B2 or B2 plus reader can understand? Field of interest and specialty, not all different kinds of topics. So any special interest? Topic like sports, music? What kind of music? Do you like Taylor Swift, Beyonce? Okay, so let's see, he interested in Taylor Swift, right? Or BTS? BTS is a K-pop. Okay, so I say, yeah, I like BTS. You know where they're right now, right? They're serving in the army, right? So let's say, yeah, I'm a big fan of BTS. And then there's some passage about the BTS life in the army, right? Then you have already interest in that article. You have some background knowledge about them. You know their names like Jungkook, B, and right. So you don't have to look for the dictionary to understand their names. So you can understand those texts pretty well if you are B2 plus, right? But if you have to read articles outside your field or interest, then you need a dictionary. That's B2. If you don't need a dictionary, C1. Okay, so that's how you make distinction between C1 and B2 plus. Yeah, and then B2 and B2 plus, when you look at this level descriptor, not much difference though, right? Because you're still B2. Yeah, so the B2 reader can do they're independent reader, but they need some lot of, some dictionaries and reference sources, especially to understand articles outside their own field. Okay, what about the lower levels, B1 plus? I can understand the main points in straightforward text or subject or personal or professional interest. So here you can understand main points, right? And then text is our straightforward, not complex. All the ideas, opinions are clearly stated. And then you could identify main conclusions with clearly argue a point of view. So that makes B1 is different from B2. So B2 is like they understand some complex sentences when the idea is not clearly stated. But at B1 level, you can understand the main ideas in a text what the point of view is clearly stated. I think the similar level descriptors can be found in B1 here, right? It's a straightforward factual text. That's the key word, right? The passages and text that B1 reader can understand, straightforward factual text. They will have a hard time understanding expository, argumentatory text, which is beyond their specialty and interest. A2, easy to identify. They can understand only short, simple text on familiar subject, high frequency, everyday language. So the text itself is short, and then the sentence is also very simple. And then they understand some main points like newspaper, magazine stories, only when they're illustrated, like some pictures and other information attached, they can understand. A1, what makes A1 different from A2? The text is way short. So see that the adverb very short, simple text. They can only understand familiar names and words and basic phrases, right? And then they can understand information about the people. So they have very limited level. It's easy to tell what level is it. So yeah, it's the distance is a really like you have to make a really huge jump from one level to another, right? So what I would do now is, so this is kind of a short level descriptor for each level. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So kind of very like some kind of a concise level descriptor. If you want to know the whole descriptor, you can just simply Google CFR level descriptor and then you can find it. But what I would do now is I want to make sure that you have a now good understanding of CFR level descriptors, at least in reading skills. So I want you to go to the GoSo box first. So please use your phone or laptop, whatever electronic devices you have. Yeah, I will when the GoSo box is available. Yeah. Okay, I think it takes some time to open up the Goso box for some reason. Why don't you take a break now? Come back in 10 minutes to 40 and we'll start again. Okay, so now time is up. So I wanted to go to this Ghost box and then type these 9-digit access code. Oh, yeah. Go to Ghost box and type these 9-digit number. And for Zoom participants, I type these access code in the chat box too. So you could actually access these survey questions, which has a reading specific level to see for level descriptors. And then if we can match these level descriptor with the CFR levels. We have about 30 items. Okay, I think you could finish like about 10 or 15 minutes or so. Okay. We have 20 people have completed so far. So it looks like you have more time. Do you need more time? Oh my goodness. I missed a lot of audience. How many people left? 27. I missed. We start with the 60, right? Attrition rate is very high. No wonder. I was just like talking to myself and to you. I mean, that's why you have to come for the in-person meeting, right? Yeah. I mean, okay. Where were we? 14? Peak. Oh, the sound is back. Yes. The 14. The 14 is the B1. B1. Or there must be lost then, right? My goodness. Oh my God. But I don't want to repeat what I just said. No. 15 can assess whether an article report reviews on the required topic. What level is it? Definitely this is not A levels, right? Is it B level or C level? It's not understanding. It's not understanding article or identifying the main idea. This is B1 level. I mean, they can read the report and they can ask them, they can guess what is this topic about. That's the B1 level. Number 16. Number 16. A1, right? So for example, I mean, you have very limited Korean, but you understand like oppa or some other familiar names, right? Signs, basic phrases. That's A1. 17, short, simple. It must be A level. And the question is there A1 or A2? A2, right? A2. A1 just understand, recognize. They can only recognize, not understand. 18, simple, right? It should be either A1 or A2. A2, right? 19, simple again. Advertisement costs, A1. Number 20, B2, this B2. Why B2, not C1? Right, right. It's a relevance, right? 21, straightforward. It should be B1. 22, 22, B2. Why B2? Why not B1? Right. 23, simple again. Okay, easy. A2. 14. Wait a minute. 24. C2, C2. 25. A1 or A2? A1. I think if you're A2, you could do this without visual support. But you need a visual support for this, A1. Number 26. A2. 27. Why C1, not B2? Right. Implied, right? Stated opinions without any extra resources. That's C level. 28. Factual informations. Is it B2 or B1? The keyword here is a convince. That means is argumentatory text. So this is B2. B1. Museum exhibit, the exhibitions. But it's the main points. This is descriptive notes, not just like simple leaflets. So this is B1. Number 30. A1, illustration, pictures, right? Okay, so this is like whole level descriptors of reading. And if you can match between level descriptor and then the corresponding CFR level, you're ready. You're ready to move on to the next task. Okay. Okay, so thank you for your hard work. Now, let's move on to next one. I will use the PowerPoint slide. So now, I know, yeah, I remember that this time. So here, now we're going to move on to speaking. We're going to move on to speaking here. Speaking. So C1 level, what they can do is they can make an argument. That's the important, right? But not just argument, well-structured speech and highlighting the significant points, concluding appropriately, right? If you cannot do this altogether, you're not C1. So B2 is B2 plus, you can develop an argument. So that's the same as a C1 level. And then you could do it systematically, and you can highlight the significant points. You can also include the supporting details, but it's not really well-structured speech. That's the difference between C1 and B2. So B2 speaker can make an argument in kind of systematic way. They could know this is my point, 1, 2, 3, but it's not really well-structured and does not really nicely concluded. That's B2 plus. B2, development clear argument linking my ideas logically, expanding, supporting my points with appropriate examples. This so they can make an argument, right? But still not at the well-structured level yet. B1 plus, develop the argument without difficulty most of the time. The keyword I think is most of the time, not always, right? Not always. And it doesn't mention anything about like main points followed by some the examples. So this is not what B1 level can do. B1, not B1 plus, explain, justify my opinions, and then you know, if I have time, prepare. You can briefly explain. So you need a time to do that. For arguing, that's A2 plus. And then A1 level, they cannot do any arguments here. And then I can explain why I like, dislike something. And if you do that, that's A2. Okay, then let me show you some example of B2 and then B1 level speaker here. P1 and then B2 level speaker here. Yeah, so here we're gonna watch this B1, no, C2 and then C2 and B1 speaker. Yes, C2. And this is really good example. I cannot find anything better than this. So here. So let's watch.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You know, you think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog, a talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm writing a book. I wrote 12 books. All did very well.
When I set a cut score, the test became meaningful to me. So this is poem written by Dr. Sun Shin. Without test score, score is just numbers. We need a cut score. Once you need a cut score, it became meaningful to you, right? That's why we need a cut score, right? Oh my, sorry. Who's it? Panicha? Koto. Yeah, I made a mistake again. Koto Nakap. Okay, here. Your topo score, speaking score is 20. And then your B2, better than Trump. Then what did you keep your confidence to accept this claim? Cut score, right? And then the cut score can be 1 if you have a cut score. Pass or fail. How many cut score do we need? Pass, fail. How many cut score do we need if you want to make a pass, fail, exam, non-exam, master, non-master, certified, non-certified? 1, right? Just 1 cut score. What about advanced, intermediate, novice? 2, 2, 2, 2. 2. Why? If you have a cut score here and here. Okay, what about this? So you have to make distinction among the CFR levels. How many cut scores do you need? Count, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 5. We need a 5 cut points. Oh my goodness, right? We need a 5 cut points. See, it requires a lot of work. Oh my goodness. So how do you do that, this setting a cut points? First of all, you need a performance standard. That's like conceptual versions of desired level of competence. And then you just state it in the can-do statement. We don't have to worry about this, right? Because that's what CFR does for us, right? And then what's the cut score? The operational version of the desired level of a competence. That's the definition of a cut score, right? And then how to set the cut score? 2 possible methods: test-centered, examinee-centered method. We often use test-centered method. For TU GET, we use test-centered method. What is examinee-centered method? So let's see, to conduct examinee-centered method, all examinees or students must have their recent test scores, right? And then your teacher, you know students very well. And then your job is identify the borderline students. I think this John is like between B2 and B1. Sean is also B1 and B2. You may identify those small number of borderline students, right? And then you check their scores and then calculate the median, not the mean, median, middle scores. That will become the cut points, right? That's what we call examinee center method. But how can but to do so, you should have a very good understanding of CFR levels and their CFR levels. And then you should have a borderline students. What if you don't have a borderline students? Right? Then you cannot use borderline method. You have to use the other method. And then you have to identify very, very typical CFR. I think this is B2. This is like really epitome of B2 level speaker, writer, reader, right? And then you collect those test scores, get the median, that will be their cut points. But in many times, we don't have that students, right, who taken our test very recently, and we don't know them very well. So that's why we often use test center method. So what is test center method? You have to use expert judges to examine test items and to make judgments. Their probable levels of performance that marginally proficient test takers will exhibit on the items. Can you understand what it's about? It's very many different steps involved, right? Step one. What do you have to do? You have to imagine marginally proficient test takers. So see, we need a 5 cut points to classify students into 6 different CFR levels, right? So first of all, let's see, you start with the B1 versus B2. You have to come up with the marginal B2 level speakers. If you are B2 level readers, right? B2 level readers, what is the probability of getting this item correct? That's what you need to do, okay? That's what angle method is. And then there's some other couple of modifications. So let's take a look at this angle method first. So judges estimate the probability that the hypothetical borderline examinee will answer an item correctly. For modified versions, they could discuss the ratings and they're, modify their ratings as well, along with the item statistics available to them. But it's very complex, cognitively very demanding, right? And then there's some inconsistency of passing students across different level of panelists. So that's big major drawback. So this is what they usually do. So let's say we have Mindy, Emily, and Gabriel here. And then let's say Gabriel is borderline B1 and B2. B1 and B2. There's the same words describe Gabriel. Minimally proficient B2 test taker, minimally competent B2 candidate, minimally acceptable, barely passing B2, just qualified B2, borderline, right? It's the same expression for Gabriel, right? He is just past B2. He's just past B2. So that's your job. So what is the probability that the minimally qualified B2 EFL student would answer this item correctly? You could rephrase these questions like this. Imagine 10 minimally qualified B2 EFL students. How many would them answer the item correctly? Let's look at the question 1. You can smoke here, please. What's the answer? Answer is what's the answer? Come on. English Ajans, come on. What's the answer? Answer is put out. Put out. If you say put down, you can just put down. Okay, I'm just put down. Right? Put out is like you have to, yeah, that's put out. Put up with, you have to bear with the cigarette. Okay. So what's the probability of the question 1 for minimally qualified B2 EFL students? Ajahn Pariwat, what's your probability for this item as a B1? Marginally qualified B2, B2. Point? How the percentage, probability? Point? 60. Most of Arjans couldn't answer these questions correctly here. No, B2. We're talking about B2. So they're B2? Oh, B1. Okay. What a harsh raider. Come on. Yeah. What about the question 2? Oh, see, put out. We're proud of you. What about question 2? He's so boring. I'm not interested in. So then what's the probability? Yeah, the answer is C, right? And then what's your probability, as I'm one more time? Yeah, of course. Question 2, marginal B2 level. Then probability, give me the number. 100%. Okay, so if you're minimally qualified B2, 100%, right? But see, it's quite difficult to estimate probability, right? But then see, this is how you calculate the cut point using this method. So yeah, let us say 10 items, we have 5 judges. So different judges have a same or different probability of getting item correct for the minimally qualified B2, right? 0.999, 0.85, blah, blah, blah. And then you calculate the average of each item, okay? And then you average all the mean of the 5 judges probability. It'll give you the cut score, 52%. Make sure the cut point, we always use the percentage, okay? 52%. But it's quite demanding. So we often use modify yes, no angle method. So instead, you like estimate the probability of getting item correct as a minimally qualified B2 or B1, C1 and C2. You just say yes, no. If you are minimally qualified B2, do you think this answer item correctly? If yes, give 1, otherwise 0, right? Then you will get this average score for each item across 3 judges. And then all the average score will be give the cut point. Okay, so we will do this. That's modified angle method. The another popular standard setting method is called the bookmark method. So bookmark methods developed to address 4 specific needs. We have empirical data, especially at the IRT calibrated data. And then if you need to come up with the multiple cut scores in a single test, this is more useful. And then you could accommodate multiple item types, like when you have a selected a construct response format. And it seems to be a little bit simpler cognitively compared to angle method. So to use bookmark method, you should have items are ordered from the least to most difficult using item response theory estimation. All right. So using the item response theory, you could order the items is the most difficult to the from least difficult, the easiest to most difficult. And then the panelist's job is simply place the bookmark at the item where they believe the difficulty of subsequent items exceeding the ability of borderline students. So your job as a panelist, you go through each item, which are order from the easiest to most difficult, right? And then you imagine that you are hypothetical borderline B2, let's say reader here. Then I think up to question 2, you could answer these items correctly more than 67% of the time. But from question 1 below, I don't think they can do it more than 60% of the time. Then you place the bookmark there, and that will be the cut point, right? It's kind of straightforward, right? And then different panelists have a different bookmark point, and then they have to do more discussions and they have to agree on the bookmark point. Okay, so this is how you do bookmark method. And then bookmark method seems to be more straightforward, but the problem is if you have a reading or listening passages, is really complicated because you have to like go back and forth, right? Because different passages, ordered on the same page is quite complicated. But anyway, so what I would do now, we will do. So you have to go to Goso box again. Yeah, go to Goso box. Yeah, so go to Goso box and then this time type these 9-digit access code 167694884. So go to Goso box. Right. So type this access code. Yeah, so I know the item started the 1, but actually 1 is a 37, okay? So 1 is 37. So let's see. First, you have to read through these passages at first, okay? You have to read through this passage, and then you have to make decisions for each item, right? So each item, we have 4 possible hypothetical borderline students for each CFR level. So we have first item is, you have a 4 marginal student, marginal A2, marginal B1, marginal B2, and marginal C1, right? So we have, and then you have to do, we're doing modify yes, no angle method. If you think that marginal A2 students can answer this item correctly, click 1. Yes. If it's not, click no. Okay. Yeah. So let's do this for all marginal level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the 5 questions, right? 5 questions. So you have to read the passage first carefully, and then you have to go for the items. I mean, not item, yeah, each item. Is it hard to read? Too small. Okay. Okay, so then let's read aloud. You know, I'm old man, so I don't think I can read aloud for you. So is there any mic there, Chara? Microphone. Yeah. Yeah, let's read. Come on, let's read one sentence per person. It's nothing.
Susan lives with a friend named Annie. They are studying at State University. They are good friends and get along well.
Several nights ago, Susan was very late for an important appointment. She ran out of the house and locked the front door. Sorry.
Then she realized that she Okay, then she realized that she forgot her books and her keys. Susan had to open the living room window and go into the house through the window.
While she was inside, the telephone rang. It was her cousin, Tom. He was in town and wanted to stop by the house to say hello. They decided to meet at the house after her appointment. In her excitement, Susan forgot to close and lock the front door of the house and the living room window.
When Annie arrived 30 minutes later, she saw that the front door was opened. She also noticed immediately that the living room window was open too. She became nervous. She went across the street to call the police from the neighbor's house.
5 minutes later, Susan's cousin Tom arrived. He went to the front door. He rang the doorbell and knocked on the door several times. No one answered because the door was open. He went in. From the neighbor's window, Annie saw a strange man go into the house.
When the police arrived, Annie told them that some strange man was in the house. They pulled out their guns and shouted into the dark house, "Come out with your hands up."
Poor Tom. He came out. He was so upset that he couldn't even remember his name. The police wanted to take him down to the station, but Susan arrived in time and she explained the whole situation. Fortunately, the day ended okay.
ขอบคุณมากครับ Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, you have to read with such emotion. Thank you. Okay. What is the best title for this story? Okay, that's the item 1. So give your verdict for each marginal CFR level on your GOSA box. Do you know all the 9-digit number, right? Yeah, the number is 167-694-884 again. 167-694-884. Go to GOSA box. Type 167-694-884. Okay, and then this is the questions. What is the best title for this story? Are you guys done with all these 5 items? No, not yet. Okay, so please complete your S-no-anger method. Oh, okay. Okay, so here, oops, oh, come on. Okay, so share screens, anger method, share here. Okay, so like item 1. So we're talking about item 1, right? What is the main idea of this article? And if, oh, this is not, no, sorry. You have to go to Go Soapbox. What's the access code number? 167 What the? 1, 7. What? Oh my goodness. Okay, whatever thing is. So, item 1, if you are hypothetical marginal A2 students, do you think that student would answer item correctly? If it's yes, click yes. If it's no, click no. Okay, so the key is these are marginal A2. They're not typical A2. They just beyond A1 level. They're A2, but they're marginal, minimally accepted A2, right? And then you can ask the same questions for marginal B1. This time you're marginal B1. Then if you're marginal B1, do you think you'd get this item correct? If it's yes, click yes. No, no. Okay. Same item, but now this time your marginal B2. If yes, click yes. No, no. Okay. Same item, but now with the different CFR level. Your marginal C1. Oh my goodness. Still 2 people say no. If you C1, you can get this item correct. Okay. So yeah, that's how you do it. Is it clear now? So you have a one item. I mean, you need to make a 4 different decision for one item. Okay. Okay, it looks like most of you complete the modify yes no anger for these 5 items. Okay. Whenever you do like either listening, I mean the angle or bookmark method is the same. When you do these kind of make a judgment about whether marginal level students at each CFL level can answer this item correct or no. You have to decide on the level of the passage first, reading and listening. So my question is, the reading, I mean, without considering the items, what do you think this whole passage can, I mean, to which CFR level do you think this passage can belong to? B1? B1? Okay. How many think that is A1? A1. No A1. C1. Okay, no C1. B2. B2. Okay, now we have to make, so I thought we all agreed that this passage either A2 or B1, right? A2 or B1. Okay, how many would think that this is B1? B1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What? Okay. A2, A2. 1. Okay. So, I mean, what it can do is, okay, what about the, oh my goodness. Okay. There's a big gap. Okay. What it can do is there are a couple of text analyzer program. Like one of them is a Cat Hoven. And then if you insert the text into that website, it'll automatically calculate the CFR level of the text. And then according to that website, the CFR level of this text is belong to A2.9. 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 So 10, I think this is like kind of borderline between A2 and then B1, but the vocabulary level belong to A1, close level B1, sentence level A2.9. So I think this is more close to A2 than B1. Okay, so this is A2 level text. I think many Zoom participants was right. And then what about the, so then you have to move on to the questions. What is the best title for this story? And if you think that, what about if you're marginal A2? Yes or no? You're marginal A2. 45% of you say yes. 52% say no. So if you're marginal, you have kind of a, I think a 50% chance because this text is like upper A2, right? And then you are marginal, like probably bottom 10%, right? Then do you think they get this item correct? Best title. What do you think? What's the answer, by the way? Is My Cousin Tom or Unfortunate Mistake? I think Unfortunate Mistake, right? So can A2 student, if you're marginal, do you think you can get this item correct? I mean, this is A2 level text, right? And then this is not about like, it's not inference questions, get the gist of it. So I think they probably get this, right? If you're A2, even though it's marginal. 38, why did Susan open the window? No. Hang on. Sorry. We have to make the same decision for B1. Definitely yes. I mean, we don't have to think about B1, B2, because if you say even yes to A2, then automatically yes for the upper levels, right? What about item 2? Oh, 50-50. Oh my goodness, 50-50. Why did Susan open the window? The answer is? Why did Susan open the window, by the way? Mm.
I just think that I mean I'm torn between A2 and B1 for item 37. And the reason why I'm torn between that, and I actually goes with the B1 as the starting point. And this is because the best title question is not just scanning. They have to be able to understand the kind of the gist in order to come up with the title. And also the vocabulary in the title is not, like frequent words, unfortunate, mistake. Those are difficult words. Like it's beyond A2, I think. So this is just something to think about.
Okay, so I mean, this is quite typical what we do in the panel discussion. So some said, because we're kind of really 50-50 about this item, right? So try to think that marginal A2 may not get this item correct. It probably needs a marginal B1 level, right? You have to understand the whole idea. It's not really scanning items, right? And then we need to hear another opinions about who's think that this is this item can be answered by marginal A2. Any other thoughts about this item? Mm.
Yeah, totally agree. Like sometimes we think that our passage is A2, but then the options that we give our students, we just move forward to B2, right? So that is something to think about too when we create items.
Okay, so we have this kind of discussion, right? We have discussions, and then item 30, this is item 37. The answer is unfortunate mistake, right? Then what we do, we have some kind of disagreement among the panelists. Then as a moderator, what we do is you present item difficulty index to the panelist. And when I check the item difficulty, can you guess the item difficulty? Item difficulty range from 0 to 1, right? It's like percentage value. So how many people do you think that get this item correct? That's true. That's true. So this is kind of a tricky because when I look at this item 37's item difficulty is 0.97. 97 students got this item correct. But the problem is this data is from the students are entering into English speaking university. So they're not A2. They're really like B2 at least, right? So we can use this kind of item level item difficulty data. So to do so, we need a item difficulty data from the similar level of students, right? So here, that's why it's difficult. So I think that I would go for no for this item, but I think say yes for the 38. I don't know. 38, but how to answer the questions correctly for 38, item 38? Why did Susan open the window? Is the answer can be found directly from the passage? Where is the answer? Oh, she forgot to, and the answer is 38 is C, to get into the house, right? And then do you think a marginal A2 student can get this item correct? Right, right. Because the answer is directly from the passage, and this is A2 level text, right? And it's kind of a scanning, right? You don't have to understand the full passage, right? So the answer is C. What about item 39, knowing the meaning of the word upset? And the answer is upset. He was so upset that he couldn't even remember his name. Troubled, calm, lost, forgetful. What's the answer?
Can I say something about this item?
Yes.
So it looks like A2 again in the passage, but then B1 or marginal B2 for options.
Option 3, item 3, right? Okay, so yeah, 69% of you said no for marginal A2, right? And then what about P1? No, it's not item 3. Item 3 is P1. Yeah, 92% say yes for B1. So this is then this B1 item. And interesting is item difficulty for this item 39, right? Is only 44%. 44%. Then item discrimination is pretty low too, 0.19. I think the reason is like A and C is kind of too close each other, right? So these things you have to take into consideration, not only about the skill that each item asking and the passage level, you have to see that how these distractors are attractive enough, right? Or is it too confusing? Maybe A2 level student cannot get it. What about item 40? Why did Annie call the police? Item 40. And the answer is, what's the answer? D? B? B. Answer is a B, right? Answer is a B. Answer is B. She thought the thief was in the house. Can A2 students in the marginal A2 can get this item correct? Oh, 85% said no. No. That's marginal A1. Sorry, A2, marginal A2 for item 4. Marginal A2. Oh, shoot. I don't have marginal A2. That's my bad. I think, yeah, so this can be answered by, this item is similar to item 38, right? What about the final item 41? 41. 41. They said no. So why do you think that marginal level A2 cannot get this item correct, even though this passage belonged to A2 level? And the answer is Item 41, 5, item 5. To answer this item correctly, you have to first understand the whole passage, right? That'll be really kind of a challenging for marginal A2 students, right? And then the answer is C, Tom did not go to the police station. So this kind of a not clearly stated in the story. So they have to make inference about the conclusion of story. So that's why we kind of think that if your marginal A2 students cannot get this item correct. So it should be at least B1 above, right? Okay, so this is like how you do modify angle method to arrive at the cut point. So, right. So the things that you have to consider in your to modify angle, especially for reading and listening, you have to determine the CFR level of the passages. That's the first step. And then see what each item measure, which sub-skill they measure. And then you could see scanning, lower level, understanding main idea, inferencing, higher level. And then you also need to look at whether each option is distractive enough, right? So you have to take into these different factors, and then that affect your yes/no decision for each marginal CFL level. And then definitely, everybody has different opinions. So they have to go through at least multiple roundings, at least 3. And then you should have a different groups, more than 10. Right? Okay, so standard setting is not really that complicated, but it's very, very time consuming, right? Especially when you have to decide multiple CFL levels at the same time. So it's not that complicated, but it's time consuming. And then you have to go through this kind of, see, we only dealt with the 5 items. We spent about 30 minutes, right? So it's very time consuming, but I think it's worthwhile, right? To demonstrate your cutoff is appropriately is a set. Okay, now I will just keep my mouth shut, open the floor for questions from the other online Zoom participants as well. Okay. Okay, the questions can be related to standard setting or any other assessment questions should be welcomed. Fine. Sure. Yes, yes. So the moderator, right? Should prepare those item level data in advance. And then, but they shouldn't really reveal that information before they make a judgment. So they let them make a judgment first, and then you present those item level information after their first round judgment. And then they can adjust judgment with that information. Yeah. So the researchers kind of suggest that we need a minimum 10 panelists, and then we should have a multiple groups. Not, we shouldn't work 10 people get together, right? What happens if you have a 10 people work together? Some of the raters' decision may be affected by some more dominant or more panelists from the higher ranking, whatever. Yeah, we should have so smaller groups. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any? Yeah, that's a good point. So this is right. All the tedious work should be left to AI, right? We have to do something fun and creative and innovative. Can AI can help us? Yeah, because AI is good at finding patterns, right? So if you train the AI with this like, typical uh, um, aspects or elements that determine the CFR level, it's kind of similar to the automatic scoring systems, right? So AI can, go through that each speech samples and writing sample and looking at the criteria, and they spit out the corresponding scores, right? So it's the same thing that the machines can easily do. So I mean, see that the text difficulty, we just use the generated AI model, right? So if you consider vocabulary level, sentence level, topic, what is CFL level, right? And then, yeah, so yeah, in the future, it can be easily replaced by AI to this. But then thing is, I mean, as I mentioned in the morning sessions, we cannot just leave the machines can do all the work for us, right? This should always be monitored by humans. But then we don't need like, for example, we need 10 panelists, right? But if you use AI, we might need 3, maybe. That's true. That's true. That's true. So, I mean, yeah. And if you have resources, then we could come up with some kind of automated standard setting method too. Right. No, no, I don't think this is they use the like really advanced AI program, but I think that this kind of automated scoring systems. I think that when did I mention? I think it's the morning. Yeah, I think I mentioned in the one of the forum, the panel discussions at the conference. This kind of AI generated scoring or categorization system is kind of a black box. You don't know how do they get these numbers? So they kind of figured out the best predictor to determine the level. And then it's kind of hard to tell. And they don't really reveal it, because if they reveal it, the other companies, oh yeah, and then we're gonna use it. So they don't really reveal some detailed mechanism systems. Um, yeah. But I think that my guess is like based on, vocabulary level, sentence complexity, tenses. Yeah. Questions?
I have a question. Regarding the qualification of the panelists, since they are reading, and I think some reading contains some cultural aspect to be considered. So would that mean the panelists must come from different nationality or come from different culture in order to be aware of the cultural content?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So, but I think that we often set the cut point in the local context. So we don't really, so for example, yeah, we have a panelist from Bangkok. Should we need a Bangkok from Phuket, Chiang Mai, Chiang Mai? I don't think that is necessary. But I think, if you, for example, if you have a nationwide language test and we want to make sure that we want to listen to opinions from the people from the all other province in Thailand, for example, then each panelist should be representative of these target test takers and teachers. Yeah. Otherwise, people from the same, geographic area tend to have some similar ideas. But for example, from Bangkok, they probably higher expectations about the students' level. If you're from some small remote area, lower expectations, right? So yeah, so to construct the panelists, you have to consider their background as well. Make sure that they're all representative of the target population. That's a good point.
One more question.
I have questions from the online too, and then from in person too. No, here. So questions here. Would it be possible to native speaker of English cannot? Yeah, we just watched one person who's happened to be United States of America. Yes. Why? Because the advanced level, it requires the high level of literacy, academic skills. Not all native speakers reach that high academic literacy skills. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the answer is possible. Yes. Any other questions? No. Maybe not. Okay. Now I'll chat up.
Okay, so on behalf of the Language Institute, Thammasat University, I would like to thank you, Dr. Shin, again, one more time. And I also would like to give a big thank you to everyone here and everyone online. Thank you so much. I have a poem that I would like to share. So before today's lecture, CFR was like a stranger or even a monster to us. But after today's lecture, CFR and standard settings are like rainbows and unicorns that we want to have in our life. C2, right? So I'm sure that today's lecture is like a good start, a good jump start for everyone. And as a graduate student, you might want to start researching on CFR. Thailand needs a lot of CFR research. And as a educator, teachers, you might want to start looking more thoroughly at CFR in planning your lessons, in monitoring your student progress that is possible. And as a professional in English, I think you guys are qualified, more than qualified for being CFR standard setting panelists. So you might get invited to be part of this kind of project. And I think you have a good start here, good foundation. So I hope that the level of excitement of everybody in doing CFR research is going to go through the roof after today. And thank you everybody again. And we are looking forward to more good talks like this from Litu. So please still be friends on Litu website, Litu Facebook. And we also have a new Facebook webpage, Litu X. So it's Language Institute, Thammasat University, advanced testing, I mean, we have like a new website for testing specifically. So please follow us and thank you again, everybody. Have a good trip home. Goodbye. ขอบคุณค่ะ